Hello, Dave Hurwitz at ClassicsToday.com, here to talk to you about George Crumb's American Songbooks. Now, George Crumb was one of the great composers of the latter half of the 20th century, and because he's still with us, happily, he's one of the great composers of the 21st century, a genius with a voice all his own that he developed in the course of the 1960s and has stuck with it ever since. Come hell or high water, through thick and thin, through fashion and fad, George sounds inimitably like himself. He's a wonderful, wonderful composer of great music, especially one of the great song and text setters of our era. His music is inimitably wonderful. He began using avant-garde instrumental performance techniques and also vocal techniques, and he's continued with that. And some people have said, I've seen criticism of him saying, well, it's gotten old and sort of everybody did it, and that's not the point. The point isn't who does something first, it's who does it best, and whether or not the technique that you use is right for the expression that you want to achieve. And that is exactly what Crumb does. He knows what he's doing. He deploys his language with accuracy and expressive intensity and depth unfailingly. Now, his complete works are being recorded by the Bridge label in what is, I think, one of the most important and impressive series of recordings available before the public. And you really owe it to yourself to support Bridge and to support this project if you care about contemporary music, because you won't find anything better done, and the music itself is so wonderfully rewarding. Now, the American Songbook series is a remarkable collection of 7 song cycles that are based on American folk and popular tunes and spirituals. They are settings of the actual melodies, but crumbled, shall we say. They're scored for voice, sometimes 1, sometimes 2, amplified piano, and percussion quartet. And the percussion quartet plays everything you can imagine. I can't even read you the list of instruments because it's so long. I happen to have one of my prized possessions is this pre-publication score of Unto the Hills, which was number 3, which, as you can see, was autographed for me by George Crumb himself, who I had the great pleasure of knowing on a couple occasions. And there's, I just have to say something about the man, just a personal memory. He has, first of all, no pretensions whatsoever, and second of all, a complete openness to the world of music, of all kinds of music. And that's what makes his own work so outstanding. It's eclectic in a way, yes, but it all gets filtered through his special personality. And I remember once, back in the early 2000s, when I was the chairman running the Cannes Classical Music Awards in the south of France every year at the Midem Music Convention. And we decided to honor George as give him a Lifetime Achievement Award for his work as a composer. And he was kind enough to come to France and accept the award in person, and also give a performance of his own work, Mundus Canis, A Dog's World, which is quite wonderful, for guitar and percussion, assisted by David Starobin. And the whole fandango was arranged by Becky Starobin. David and Becky run Bridge Records, and they are friends to everything that is great and contemporary in modern music. So it was a good time. And after the award ceremony, there was a dinner, and because George was there, there was a wonderful gathering of music people, 20th century music people, and some graduate student types, and some of these sort of geeky arts types, and they were sitting around him at the table saying, what modern composers are you listening to? Who are you listening to? And I heard some names mentioned like Salvatore Sciarrino and, things like that. Members of the existing European avant-garde. And George just looked up at them and said, well, and I'm not going to imitate it, but he has a West Virginia accent that's sort of unforgettable. And he said, well, I think Rachmaninoff wrote some great tunes. Don't you? Silence. It was a total conversation stopper. Probably the last thing these people were thinking, but it just goes to show. I mean, with just such amiableness and good nature, he's able to make a point. And the point is that great music is great music wherever it comes from, and Crumbs is great music. Now, I just wanted to show you, as part of the Bridge series, the American Songbook series consists of, like I said, 7 different song cycles, and I have 4 of them here. This is let's see, 1 and 3, The River of Life and Unto the Hills, which I just showed you. Unto the Hills is a cycle of Appalachian folk songs, and just so you know, I mean, I'm sure you've heard some of these. The songs are Poor Wayfaring Stranger, which frame the series, All the Pretty Little Horses. Hush-a-bye, don't you cry, go to sleep, my little baby. When you wake, we'll have cake and all the pretty little horses. You know those, right? 10,000 Miles. Black, black, black is the color of my true love's hair. The Riddle, and then again, Poor Wayfaring Stranger at the end. Now, in the middle of these song cycles, there's usually an instrumental interlude, and as you can see from this one, the soloist, who is pictured here also, is Anne Crumb, the composer's daughter, who is a wonderful singing actress with a sort of non-classical but superbly trained voice, and she sings these songs with familial affection, shall we say. And you can get that disc. You can also get these two. Here's numbers 2 and 4, Songs of Hope and Despair, A Journey Beyond Time is the name of that cycle. And then The Winds of Destiny, Songs of Strife, Love, Mystery, and Exaltation, a cycle of American Civil War songs, folk songs, and spirituals. These are incredibly important works. There's that historical aspect, that is the history of American popular song as filtered through the eyes and ears of one of the great musical geniuses of our time. However, I also want to recommend another disc in this series, Unto the Hills, which is number 3 here, which I was just telling you about, also comes coupled to Black Angels. Now, Black Angels, which was performed, we did at Medem, when in Crumb's presence, is a string quartet. It's subtitled 13 Images from the Dark Land for Electric String Quartet, and it is one hair-raising piece of music. It's fabulous. The very opening is called The Night of the Electric Insects. I mean, how can you resist something like that, right? It's totally awesome. So I really urge you to seek out George Crumb's American Songbook series. Also, it's part of the Bridge collection of the complete works. Get a couple volumes of the complete works. You may want Black Angels. You may want Macrocosmos 3. You may want, there's so much great music in here. And Crumb is a voice that I think nowadays more than ever, we really need to hear. He had a great sort of surge of popularity in the 70s and the 80s. Since then, things have died down a little bit as other musical trends have assumed, a greater prominence in our music life. But through it all, he's been there, like the river of life itself, writing one great work after another. They deserve to be heard. They're being recorded. So I leave it up to you to keep on listening. Thank you.